it really is that time of year. Have you done your Christmas shopping? How are y'all doing with it? I really haven't started yet. And I think I got a couple more days for Amazon Prime though, so I think I'm good. But I always think that I'm gonna be ahead. I think about it early enough, and I'm like, oh, look at me, I've got my list all written out, and everything's all set, and I know, and then all of a sudden I blink, and it's like the 23rd, and I'm like, oh, screwed up again. And so I'm hoping that you're all further along than I am with gifts. But this time of year seems to be all about gifts, about giving them, about sharing our heart's esteem with someone, showing someone how much we hold them in our heart or how much we appreciate them. And then there's that whole experience of receiving gifts, right? The idea of that people buy us gifts. And sometimes they're lovely and wonderful, and sometimes they're interesting, right? So I thought I'd start today with some practical advice on how to handle when someone gives you what we're going to call an interesting gift. Okay, so these are the top 8 ways you can respond to interesting gifts. All right, so number 8. Well, now there's a gift. Okay, that's a good one. All right, so number 7. You know, I always wanted one of these. So jog my memory. What's it called again? Number 6. No. Really? I didn't know that there was a Chia Pet tie. Oh, and it's a clip-on too. Number 5. So you know what? I'm going to find a special place for this one. Number 4. Boy, we don't see craftsmanship like that every day. Number 3. And it's such an interesting color too. Okay, that might not work for us. Okay. Number 2. You see, that was the last one, and I'm glad you snapped that one up. And the number 1 thing to say about gifts that we're going to call interesting are, you shouldn't have. No, really. I mean, you really shouldn't have. So, all right, so I'd like to help you out at this time of year, so if you could use any of those, I hope that it helps you in the gift receiving experience. But today I'm talking about how we're able to open up our true gifts, right? Our true gifts. Our gifts that come to us each and every day, and it's not necessarily just about Christmas. It's not about receiving something from somebody else. It's about realizing that there are gifts in our lives, and sometimes we're overlooking them. That there are gifts and there are blessings and there are things available to us and for us in our life experience, and that we just forget to open them up. Could you imagine a kid forgetting to open up a gift under the tree on Christmas? No. But can you imagine that there are things in our lives that we aren't taking advantage of, or we aren't stepping up and owning or receiving in our life? Because it happens each and every day. That there are moments where we get so tied up into how we think things should look or how something's going, that we're so focused on one piece of our life that we miss the vista of support that's there for us. And that's what my goal is for us, is that in this holiday season, that we, and beyond, and every day, that we have the opportunity and the awareness to open up our true gifts, to be present to the blessings that abound in this life. Because let me tell you, sometimes it doesn't feel like that. Sometimes we can feel alone, or we can feel forgotten, or we can feel betrayed, or whatever those experiences are, we walk through them. But truth be told, that even in the midst of an experience of difficulty, of challenge, of pain, that there are great gifts and blessings for us. And it takes being conscious of it and remembering it and waking up to it. And that's what I'm talking about today. Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, I put the quote up here today, says this. He says that God wills us to have everything. As we express life, we fulfill God's law of abundance. But we do this only as we realize that there is good enough to go around. Only as we know that all of God's gifts are given as freely and fully as the air and the sunshine, alike to all. There is no special chosen other than you. We are all the chosen. You are the chosen one of the divine. And all the abundance of life is available to you, and it's there for you. So now the way I'm encouraging us to do this connection, this remembering, is through the experience of prayer. And so if you've hung out here any period of time, if you've taken any classes, you know that at the Center for Spiritual Living, we do a specific kind of prayer called spiritual mind treatment. It sounds a little bit different, it feels a little bit different than maybe what we've grown up with or what normally we would call prayer. And it's an affirmative claiming of what's true. What we do in spiritual mind treatment is we look through what the problem is to what the spiritual truth is and call that forward. We claim it into being. We know that our words have power, and as we speak truth, our experience reflects that. Right? You with me? You know what we're talking about? Yeah, I'm not talking about that. Yeah, I'm not talking about spiritual mind treatment today, so everybody can take a breath, because I'm not going to give you a little lesson on spiritual mind treatment. No, but what I'm talking about is what's behind that. Because, first of all, let me just say, there's no wrong way to pray. There is no wrong way to pray. But if we take the moment to pray in the way that we feel and how we're called, what it is it's a connection. It's a connection to the divine. It's a moment of taking a conscious awareness to realize that there's something greater than we are that's alive in our lives. And when we do that, prayer is the bridge to receiving the gifts that are there for us. Prayer is a way for us to train ourselves to see beyond what we're attached to see beyond what we expect, to see beyond what our ideas of how things should be are, to receive the broader gifts that are there for us in our lives. I don't know about you, but sometimes we can get on a hamster wheel of a mindset. Anybody? Anybody? Yeah, so worry is one of those hamster wheels. Oh my God, what's going to happen? Oh my God, what's going to happen? Oh my God, this is going to be bad. Oh my God, what's worse? What if it gets worse? What if, oh my God, here it comes. And it goes over and over and over again. That's a prayer. And so we want to move out, or the hamster wheel of what happened in the past, right? I can't believe they did that to me. I can't believe they did that to me. I can't believe this happened. I can't believe God let this happen. I can't believe this person had the guts to say blah, 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 or do blah, blah, blah. You know, anybody, or is that just inside my mind? Okay. All right. So the idea is that when we get stuck in any of those mindsets, we forget that there's something bigger happening. We forget that there's something greater there for us. We forget that there are gifts and blessings, and the part of the abundant universe is there for us. And so we start to build our own story. We start to tell ourselves some situation, and then, because we tell it so often, we think that it's true. And then we live as if it were true. And then it becomes true. And we think that that's the way life is. But you know what? That's not the way life is. Life is for you. Life is for your freedom. Life is for your expansion. Life wants you to have the fullness. God, and you hear me, like when I say life, I'm talking about God, right? I'm talking about the presence of God. Those desires that you have in your heart are God's desires for you. Those things that you want to experience and to reach for and to expand into in your life is the divine urge alive within you. And when you can connect to that, and when you can allow that to be alive within you, instead of all of this sense of limitation or this sense of worry or fear, then you can start to experience the freedom of that. And we do that through prayer. We do that through connecting and communing with Spirit. And so often when we begin to learn to pray, we learn to pray like kids write their list for Santa, right? We pray like kids write their Santa letters, like I would like an Xbox, and I'd like a new bicycle, and maybe a Coach purse. Girls got taste. But our prayers sound more like, I want a new job. You know, can I have a new job? Can I have a new partner? Can my partner be different? Yeah. You know how many people pray to have? Don't raise your hand, especially if you're sitting next to your partner. Don't raise your hand. No. Yeah, we pray for illness to be taken away. We pray for that new experience. But our gifts don't come from these kinds of prayers. The blessings and the gifts don't come from, please, God, do this. As Teresa of Avila said, more tears are shed over answered prayers than unanswered ones. So what I'm encouraging us to remember is that prayer is just a moment of communion. The essence and core of prayer, no matter how you do it, is a moment of communion with that part of you that you know is beyond. Right? Have you had those moments where maybe in the stillness, as you're falling asleep or as you're waking up, that you realize that there's something greater? Those moments of standing in, for me, it was in the redwoods or in the front of the ocean or standing on a mountain, in a beautiful vista, realizing that there's something greater. This much beauty cannot just be random, right? That there's something greater operating. And when we feel that, that's the feeling we're trying to reach when we take our time to commune. Whether we're sitting in the sanctuary, or we're sitting before the ocean, or we're sitting in an airplane. A lot of people are traveling these days, and I encourage you that prayer and meditation is the way to go when you're squished in the middle seat. Because you can go in, and when you go in, you may feel squished on the outside, but on the inside, there's a vast feeling of peace there for you. And it's as we commune that we call that forward and experience it. Those are our gifts. And so I loved what the reading that Dawn did from Anne Lamott. She says this: prayer is taking a chance that against all odds and past history, we are loved and chosen and do not have to get it together before we show up. I wanted to restate that because it's so important. We are loved and chosen. And you do not need to get it together before you show up to God. God is there to love you through every single experience you've got and to reveal to you the wisdom and the gifts that we're waiting for. She goes on to say, in some unique way, we believe we're invited into a relationship with someone who hears us when we speak in silence. And so when you practice this, you begin to have a relationship with the question, with the mystery of life. And that's where the blessings live and how we learn to watch out for the gifts that are here for us. So my story around this is that I remember growing up being disappointed every year at Christmas. I'm just going to admit it. My mom's probably not going to watch the podcast. Actually, I say that now, and I'm going to get a call tomorrow. Hello. So I remember just being disappointed. First of all, I was a sneaker, so I liked Pete. I don't do that anymore. I learned my lesson. But when I was a child. But I just remember being disappointed. I remember growing up and the truth is that I was the fourth kid in a family that was middle class with two older kids in college at the time, and my parents were struggling to make ends meet. They did the best that they could for us, and they did great, but they struggled a little bit. And so our holidays were, as good as they could pull it together. And I just always remember feeling pretty disappointed. But then something happened in middle school, and I went to a friend's house, and they didn't have a Christmas tree. And they weren't Jewish. That's the first thing I said. Are you guys Jewish? No. Oh, where's your tree? Oh, we don't have one of those. And I was shocked. I couldn't believe that someone wouldn't have a Christmas tree. How do you do Christmas? What's up with Santa? How does it work? How does he know? You gotta get a tree, And then I, around the same time, a girlfriend of mine lost her mom to cancer, and she passed. And I remember being at their house around the holidays, and just what that felt like, for them, right after she passed. And I started to wake up to the idea that wow, I got it pretty good. That, yeah, crazy family, maybe. Well, yeah, my family's a little crazy, but, that's all right. I can handle that. And they did the best that they could for us, and I always had something that was really lovely. Now, it wasn't as much as my other girlfriend who I went to her house at Christmas too, and they had 3 kids, and each one had a Christmas tree. Filled, like halfway up. Presents couldn't fit under the tree, they were filled, halfway up. And I remember going like, whoa! And even in my middle school consciousness, not really understanding anything, I knew that someone was trying to make up for something in that. Something to prove, And so what I started to do was to wake up to the idea of what the true gift was, right? What those true gifts were and what was important. And how we related to one another because of that. And in that, my gratitude was born. I'm encouraging us to And so the other thing about it was that that's how my spiritual life was when I first started. I was looking outside of myself. So I was comparing myself. Well, I had more than these people, and I had less than these people, and I was a little bit like this. And so when I started my adult life and my spiritual life, I started to compare myself to other people. And what do we know about comparison? It's the thief of joy. And so when I started to look out and say, well, they're more spiritual than I am, or they know more than I do, or I'm never going to be able to be like that, you know. I have this teacher that we all desire to be as wise and knowing and I looked at that and was like, oh my God, how do I even get there? And I remembered, I'm not supposed to. We're not supposed to. It's not about comparing ourselves. It's about realizing what gifts we have right where we were. And when I stopped comparing myself, I found my life. When I stopped comparing myself or trying to be like somebody else, I figured out what the gifts were in my life. And that's what we need to do. We need to stop looking outside of ourselves to compare the experience of our life or the gifts that are there for us and open our own gifts rather than trying to open somebody else's. Because when you get somebody else's gifts, they're not for you. They don't fit. It doesn't fulfill that deep longing that's within us. It's only when we realize our own gifts and we can open our own gifts that are there for us. And so I was inspired by Anne Lamott's book, Help, Thanks, Wow, the 3 essential prayers, and I've decided I'm going to put it into, we're formulating our 2019 program right now. I'm really excited about what's coming up in 2019. But I'm going to go into this a little bit deeper in the new year. But I was so inspired because these are 3 ways of just connecting to that deep presence, of connecting to that energy and that feeling of prayer. And so we know the prayer of help is the first one. So help is a prayer of surrender, right? It's a prayer of saying, I can't do it alone. And how we are trained to do it alone, aren't we? Oh my goodness, we want to fix it. We want to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. I want to take care of everything. If I get myself into a mess, I got to get myself out, and nobody can know about it, right? Nobody can know that I'm a mess. Nobody can know that I'm sick. Nobody can know that I have financial challenges. Nobody can know that my relationship's falling apart. Nobody can know. I got to fix it. I got to figure it out. Anybody ever hear that in your head? Yeah, I hear you. So the idea of that is that we live in a context. We live in a context, in a matrix of life, of our relationships, of the divine life. And so when we are able to say, you know what, I need help. I need help. It's not telling God how to fix our life. It's just in the energy of opening to receiving help. Then the true gift can come in. Then you can receive what it is that you really need that you would never know. I used to think I knew better than God. I used to think I knew better what my life should look like and what should happen in my life than God did. And then all of a sudden I woke up, and not woke up, but I was in a meditation, and all I heard was laughter. You know? And I'm reminded of that constantly. That every time I think I know better than the infinite wisdom that has created the universe as to how to fix my life, I need to just be quiet. Because God, in its infinite wisdom, knows better for us than we could even know. Now, it's not some divine Santa Claus up on a cloud. We're not talking about that. That's not our view of life and of God. Our view of God is that it's an essence and a presence, and it's alive within each and every one of us. So it's the part of us that's beyond our knowing, but it's part of you. It's not separate. And so when we go into that inner realm and we say, help, please help. It's your own wisdom that's coming. It's your own wisdom that's revealed. And so when you are able to walk through your days after you say help, you get to see the gifts show up. You get to see the opportunity come. You get to see the possibility that you couldn't see before because you were so blinded to how you thought things should be. The prayer of help is one of the most important ones that we can say, because it allows you to connect immediately to that greater part of you. And when we're surrendered and when we're receptive, that's when we can receive the gift. And so the second prayer that Anne Lamott talks about is thanks. And so we've done months on gratitude. We've done months on gratitude. I know that we all know the power of the spiritual practice of gratitude and thanksgiving. Gratitude is an energy. It's a vibrational level. And when we can align ourselves with that vibrational level, we open up I lost my word. Let's see, where did it go? We open up the pathways of giving from the universe. We open up those divine channels, there it is, those divine channels that bring us everything that we need and more. It's that energy of gratitude that brings us there. Now, and of course, gratitude is one of those things that's really easy to experience in the good times. And the spiritual practice is to stretch and start to find what you can be grateful for in the challenge. To be able to find a moment of being grateful that you're being stretched, that you're being called to a higher level. Gratitude in realizing that you're stronger than you think because you have overcome the world, as Jesus taught us. So Anne Lamott talks about a couple of her prayers of gratitude that I love, and one of them is the first level. She calls it DEFCON 1. DEFCON 1 of gratitude is, thank you, 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 thank you. Have you ever said that one? Like, so when you go by the speed trap and they don't get you? That's that level, right? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Come on. I've never experienced that. About 20 minutes ago, no. Okay, so then DEFCON 2, she says, is with a big sigh. Thank you. That's the prayer when the dog runs out into the street and doesn't get hit by a car. That's the prayer when you think that things are not going to cross over in your bank account at the same time that you have planned it for. When the deposit goes in before the withdrawal comes out, right? So that's the thank you. And then there's the DEFCON 3, which is, oh my God, thank you. That's when the biopsy results come back negative. That's when they misdiagnosed your child, and it's actually allergies instead of leukemia. Thank you, God, thank you, right? So there are prayers of gratitude that we normally say no matter what, but when we're conscious about it and we are consciously engaged in that. My thank you for, I got into a habit a bunch of years ago. I did this specifically when I first started my gratitude practice like 20 years ago. I started to say thank you for everything that went right for me in my life, every minute of every day, right? So I'll be driving now, and so now 20 years later I still do it, and my kid in my car is like, now that she sits up front with me, is like, you're weird, Mom. Because like every time the light turns green, I say thank you. And I'll say it out loud sometimes. I say it in my head, but sometimes I'll say it out loud, and Emily will be like, did you just thank the light? Yeah, I did. And so trying to get to that place where you just are steeped in gratitude is a creative force. So we surrender to allow ourselves to see beyond what we think our gifts are. We cultivate that energy of gratitude to continue the flow of the gifts into our life. And then the third one is wow. Wow is a prayer of awe. Wow comes in those moments when something so magnificent or so horrific happens. It could be on either side. That we are stunned into silence. That we are stunned into that place beyond words. And again, Anne Lamott says this. When we are stunned to that place beyond words, we're finally starting to get somewhere. It's so much more comfortable to think that we know what it all means, what to expect, and how it all hangs together. When we're stunned to the place beyond words, when an aspect of life takes us away from being able to chip away at something until it's down to a manageable size, and then file it nicely away. When all we can say in response is, wow, now that's a prayer. That's when it's uttered with that gasp. Wow. Sometimes it's when we believe something, we have faith You know, that Hail Mary is going to show up in our life, and it actually does, right? Around here, they have a saying that people will say it. I think it's from Dr. Pat, my predecessor, but, oh, that's so usual. They say it all the time. You can tell the people who've been here for a while because they'll say that, oh, it's so usual, you know? And I love that because I didn't grow up with that, or in my spiritual life, I didn't grow up with that. And so that's the awe, right? That it's like, we need to realize that the awe is usual. That it's part of our everyday experience if we allow it, if we invite it. But it's in those moments that what we do is we step beyond ourselves. We step beyond what we know or what we think to be what this life is about. We have to remember that this life is a mystery. We came from somewhere that we don't know where we came from. And we're headed somewhere that I can't tell you where you're going. Right? And some people like to say it, if you're going to be good, you'll go here, and if you're going to be bad, you'll go there. Nobody knows that, by the way. Nobody knows where you go. Okay, so if they tell you definitely, you can say, well, how do you know? Were you there? I didn't mean to go down that road. Okay. I'm bringing it back. But that's the thing, is that the whole point is that we live in a mystery. Life is a mystery, and that we like to know what's happening, and we like to have control over our lives, and we like it not to be a roller coaster. But you know what? You got to enjoy the joy of the roller coaster, because this life is a mystery. And when we allow it to be a mystery, then we can open to all of that mysterious stuff coming into our life. If it's a mystery, we can't control it all. We don't want to control life. We want to align ourselves with the joy of life. And so that's what opening our gifts are really about. It's about being so present with the experience of life that we realize that there's a power and a presence that loves us so dearly, it's going to give us everything our hearts desire and more. That there's a part of us that needs to express ourselves so fully, and when we do that, all of nature, the entire universe, rises to support that expression. When we are clear about who we are, and we speak our truth, and we give our gifts, and we are rising to the energy of who we have come here to be, that's the gift that you give to the world. And when you give your gift to the world, the universe supports you. And so we get to wake up to see that there are great gifts around us, that there are great gifts that abound around us all the time, and we overlook them. And so not only under your tree this year, but every day and every moment of each and every day of this holiday season and of the next year and of the next 25 million years, I know that there are gifts there for you. And I'm knowing that we unwrap them and we welcome them and we allow them to be the truth of who we are. Because that's God in action. And that's what life's all about. And even though there's some pain in life, we can take the pain because we've got a couple of things. One is we have each other. And the second is that we've got God. And with God, all things are possible. And so it is. Merry Christmas.